Hi everyone, this is Eldad Amara. I'm just going to jump straight into this video. Do you know that food carries frequencies? Food carries energy, right? Also the words around food also carry certain frequencies and certain energies. And you know what? There's a lot of words that are used out there, okay, on food packaging, and people don't understand half the words on this food packaging. And I think it's very, very important for us to look at the food packaging and what is on there and try and understand the content. You see, the other thing as well, these are scientific terms on this food packaging, yeah? Or even if you're buying things such as shampoo, you're buying Coca-Cola, you're buying various different types of foods. And when you look on the packaging, you don't understand what some of these words actually mean. Words carry frequency. Words carry vibration. Everything is made of energy. If you break it down, everything is made of energy. So, see some of these adverts you see on TV? We got the food, and it's packaged in a certain way, and it's got certain colors, and they use attractive words to make people go out and buy this food. Okay? It's by no mistake that certain foods are of a certain color and that they're packaged up in a certain way and they have certain brand names on them. Now, as I say, everything is energy. Everything is energy, and food is energy. And that food that we eat gives us energy in different forms, but also understand that food can also be something that can be detrimental to our health if we don't know what it is that we are eating. Now, I'm going to go, before I go into chatting about food in more depth, I want to give you an example of how words can be spelled. You see, words such as terrorism, when you think about the word terrorism, it conjures up a certain image in your mind. It conjures up certain fears. When you hear the word debt, as it often used on TV, that conjures up a certain emotion, that conjures up a certain image in your mind. Okay? Housing crisis, that word crisis, when you hear that word crisis, it makes you feel a certain type of emotion. And most of the time, it makes you feel fear. And fear is the thing that keeps us in our place. Now, going back to food, some of the food that we're eating, we don't actually know what it is that we're actually really eating. Okay? And food carries a certain frequency. Foods carry different alternative frequency. And some of the things that we're eating, right, aren't really foods. They're artificial colors, artificial preservatives, artificial additives that are in the food. And they're given scientific names. These things carry different frequencies. These things carry different vibration. These things carry different emotions, and it'll make us feel emotionally different depending on what it is that we're eating, the ingredients that's in some of these foods. Now, let me give you an example. There's something which is called, say with me, people, there's something which is called Emulsifier 4. Yeah, Emulsifier 4. Do any of you out there know what emulsifiers are? There's different types of emulsifiers. Well, basically, emulsifier will bond water and fat together, because naturally water and fat do not bond together. So products, for example, you'll find emulsifiers in are things such as paints. That's right, like gloss paint. Naturally, oil and water will not mix together. So somehow they have to find an agent of some form to bond these things together. So they use emulsifier. Now, you'll find emulsifiers in certain types of foods. Is this good for us? Is this bad for us? Is this going to have long-term detrimental effects on our health? Why do they want to put emulsifiers in foods such as burgers? As I say, because fat and oil do not naturally mix together. What kind of energy, what kind of emotion is being passed on to us through using these various different types of emulsifiers? Emulsifier 4, it says here, while there isn't a specific emulsifier universally known as 4 or emulsifier, are substances that help mix ingredients like oil and water, which usually don't blend well. They are commonly used in foods like mayonnaise, chocolate, ice cream, baked goods to improve texture, appearance, and shelf life. So this emulsifier 4, let me read this again. Emulsifier 4. Whilst there isn't a specific emulsifier universally known as 4, emulsifiers are substances that help to mix ingredients like oil and water, which usually don't blend well. They are commonly used in foods like mayonnaise, chocolates, ice cream, baked goods to improve texture, appearance, and shelf life. All right, what kind of effect is that having on us if we're eating this artificial stuff? Yeah, this emulsifier 4. There's another thing that's called leghemoglobin. Leghemoglobin, I think that's the correct pronunciation. What is this? Leghemoglobin is a protein found in root nodules of leguminous, which is found in root nodules of leguminous plants, and it is also used as a food additive to mimic the red color of meat. Okay? To mimic the red color of meat. And you find this in things such as the Impossible Burger. The Impossible Burger. Okay? The Impossible Burger. So you're eating some things that aren't really foods, such as emulsifier and this leghemoglobin. I have to apologize because I don't understand. Not that I don't understand the terminology, but it's hard to pronounce some of these terms, these phrases. Some of them are very difficult. And I think these scientists deliberately make these terminologies difficult, right? So that we're fooled. So that we're fooled. They know what these things mean, but we don't. All these technical terms and technical jargon, right? For those of you out there who drink Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola is another thing as well that's got a lot of various different additives, preservatives, yeah, artificial coloring and flavoring. Now, in this article here, which is written by Ben King and Faria Massoud, right? BBC Business reporters. Now, they done an article based on Coca-Cola, right? And some of its ingredients. And there's something called chlorite. Chlorite. Okay? Some European countries apparently have taken down or taken out this chlorite out of drinks, such as Coca-Cola. Let me read this article. Coca-Cola has recalled its drinks in some countries across Europe because they contain higher levels of a chemical called chlorite. I think that's the correct pronunciation. Chlorite or chlorate. The firm said in a statement that the recall was focused on Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. It added just 5 product lines and had been shipped to Britain. They had already been sold. It had, let me read that line again. It had just 5 product lines and had been shipped to Britain, and they had already been sold. Affected products include Coke, Fanta, Sprite, Tropico, and something else, right? According to the Belgian branch of Coca-Cola International Bottling and Distribution Operation, chlorite can be produced when chlorine-based disinfectants are used in water treatment and in food processing. Independent expert analysis conclude that any associated risk for consumers is very low, a spokeswoman told the BBC. Coca-Cola said it had not received any consumer complaints in Great Britain and that it had alerted authorities on this matter and will continue to collaborate with them. The company added issues has affected a very small number of imported cans of appetizers, Coca-Cola Original Taste, Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, Diet Coke, Sprite Zero. The production of codes from 328GE to 338GE, which Coca-Cola said can be found in, which Coca-Cola said it can be found on the base of the can. That's why I say, people, you need to read the cans or the food packaging on the back to see what content is actually in the food, what ingredients, what are they putting into these foods. I'm not going to read all of this article. It goes on, it says that chlorate affects the humans when it's taken in excess, include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and limiting the blood's ability to absorb oxygen, added Miss Gazette, citing recent research into the chemical. Oh man. See this chloride. Did you know anything about that? Did you know anything about that? Obviously, all of these different additives and preservatives that are going into the foods is having some kind of detrimental effect on our health. They say that it's all right, some of these preservatives and additives in small amounts, that it doesn't really affect us. Have you ever seen somebody with ADHD, yeah, attention deficit disorder? You give them something like Coca-Cola and see how they act. Because I, in the past, have worked with certain young people and giving them certain canned drinks is not conducive for them. It's not good for them. Right, what is in our foods? Check this out. Food additives that are not naturally found in food include synthetic sweeteners like aspartame and saccharose, okay, or sucralose. Artificial food colors like FD and C, red number 40, yeah. I think it's also called red dye 40, and synthetic preservatives like sodium benzo. I cannot pronounce this word. I'm going to just spell it out. BENZOATE. Benzoate, right? These substances, can't get the words out. These substances are created in labs and added to food to enhance flavor, color, or shelf life. You got something else called riboflavin. Riboflavin, also known as vitamin B2, is a water-soluble vitamin that is crucial for various bodily functions, including energy, production, and cell growth. It plays a key role in metabolizing carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Riboflavin is also a component of, I cannot say this word, so I'm going to spell it out, COENZYMES, coenzymes. I think that's what it says, like FAD and FMN. All this coded language, man. All this coded language. That's why you got to be so careful about what you're putting in your body, man. You need to study these words. Words are power. Words are spells. Words carry different frequencies, different emotions. Foods that we eat affect our emotions. It affects our thinking. It affects the way that we act. Okay? Because food is our lifeline. Besides breathing this air that we're breathing in and out every day, right? That's a vital life force. Food is also a vital life force. And they're putting all kinds of things into our foods, and we need to be aware of it. Okay? Right? There's something called sodium sulfate. Right? Sodium sulfate is a white, odorless, water-soluble, inorganic. I always keep talking about the organic versus the inorganic. The inorganic means synthetic. Okay? Synthetic. It's not organism, like a real organism. Okay? It's a synthetic thing. Yeah? We have this world that we're starting to live in, which is very synthetic. Now, sodium sulfate is a white, odorless, water-soluble, inorganic compound with chemical formula Na2SO4. It's a sodium salt of sulfuric acid. It exists in different forms, including, again, I can't pronounce this word, so I'm not going to even try. Okay, let me read on. Sodium sulfate is widely used in various industries, including the manufacturing of detergents, glass, paper pulp, textiles. It's also used as a drying agent, a laxative, and in certain chemical processes. This thing's used as a detergent, used as a laxative. People, we have to be so aware about what we're putting in our body. As I say again, everything is energy when it comes down to it. And the food that we're putting in our body is energy. But we're also putting some things in our body which aren't really foods. And obviously, it's going to affect our energy in different ways. Because it's not natural, it's artificial or inorganic. Sodium sulfate is a food additive, also known as E514, used primarily as a diluent for food colors and as a preservative. It can be also found in various foods, including those listed above under the following categories. Right, is sodium sulfate bad for you? In fact, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, and the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, has said that sodium compounds like SLS and SLES are considered safe at low levels. However, some individuals with sensitive skin and gastrointestinal systems can also have reaction to the sulfate compounds and the mineral salt. People, we need to wake up. We're putting things inside our bodies, and we don't know what they're gonna do to us in the long term. We don't know what it's going to do to us in the long term, 5 to 10 years down the line. And will this be passed on to our children? Just like how somebody who's addicted to cocaine, right? Just like somebody who's addicted to cocaine or heroin, sometimes these things are passed on to their children. If you're eating certain types of food and the food is detrimental to our health, will this have long-term effects also, not only on us, but on the children that we have? This is Eldad, and this is part 1 of this video, with part 2 to come. Thank you.